Hi everyone, welcome to Sweetpea Sid's Inspirations. My name is Sydney and today we are going to be working on the Simply Twisted Cable Afghan. Now there is also a pattern for the shawl and the boot cuffs that go with the shawl. If you would like to go check those out, the links to those videos will be posted on this video, whether it be in the comments, description box, or a link actually in the video. So let's go over some basic things that we are going to need for our Afghan. So the very first thing is going over the yarn choices. So you do want to use any kind of worsted weight yarn. You can also use a DK weight yarn as well, but I do highly recommend a worsted weight. Use whatever kind of colors, and if you would like to even get a little fancy, you can stripe your Afghan. Now I did do that here and I changed my color every 8 rows, or you can whoops like I did and up here did 3 rows. So make it as your own, use whatever yarn, stripe it, whatever. So with that being said, we are going to need a 5mm hook. Now that's going to depend on whether you are a loose or a tight crocheter. Now if you are a loose crocheter, I do maybe recommend going up to a 5.5, depending on how tight, maybe even a 6. So that is going to be our hook size. You're going to need a darning or tapestry needle to weave in your ends, and of course pair of scissors. And also, if you need it, you will need a measuring tape. Now I do have measurements for how wide the blanket is, but no measurements on how long it is. So how wide it is going to be roughly about 71.5 inches wide. Now how long is going to be how long you want to make yours. This does stretch over a queen size blanket and maybe pushing it to a king size. So again, it's how long it is going to depend on how long you want to make yours. I have not fully completed my Afghan, so as far as yardage goes, I've probably gotten about halfway done and I have already used about 1,300 yards. So you are going to need quite a bit of yarn for this Afghan. So I'm going to be using US terminology throughout this tutorial, and there's also going to be some terminology that I'm going to go over with real quick. So I'm going, and I'll also show you how to do some stitches as well. So I'm going to be using terminology for United States. Treble crochets, we'll be working front post with those, along with front post and back post double crochets. Now, the big thing that you do want to pay attention to when I'm speaking is crisscross stitches versus crossover stitches. Crisscross stitches are the stitches that we are working right beside of the cable. So we're not working in the cable, we're working right beside the cables when I refer to crisscross stitches. Now, crossover stitches is the stitches that you see right here that are actually in the cable. So you do want to pay attention when I am speaking on both of those. So again, the crossover stitches are the stitches in the cable, and the crisscross stitches are the stitches that are worked right beside of the cable. So go ahead and chain up 209 chains, and then I'll go over a little bit more into detail over the schematics of the Afghan and the outline of it. Real quick, I also want to go over that the cables themselves are a 4-row repeat. I do go over on how to do the first row repeat with you, and then I kind of walk you through the other 3 repeats because they're very self-explanatory. But the crisscross stitches are only a 1-row repeat. Those are never going to change. They are going to stay the same. Again, the crisscross stitches are a 1-row repeat. The cables themselves are a 4-row repeat. I go over how to do those with you. After you have your chain of 209, we're going to now section off our chain. Now you don't have to do this, but it does help out quite a bit. So go ahead and grab some stitch markers. I used about 10, I believe. So I did draw a little visual here to kind of give you something of how we are going to section off and how the pattern works up. So through the Afghan, there is going to be 4 cables spread throughout, and 12 stitches make up the cables. Now, in between the cables in the center, there is going to be a stitch that is called a crisscross stitch, and there's going to be 3 sections of those in the center, and each section makes up 40 stitches. Now on the ends, there's only going to be 20 on the one that we will start off in, and then 21 on the end. So the reason why there is 21 on the last section that we work of the 20 is because it counts for the crisscross stitch plus a double crochet at the end to make our edge. The chain 3 that we'll do after or before we actually start the pattern, that is going to count as a turning chain but also a double crochet. So how we will section off is we will start off with counting 20 stitches here, 12 for our first cable, 40 for our crisscross stitch, 12 for our second cable, 40 for our crisscross stitch, 12 for our third cable, 40 for our crisscross stitch, 12 for our fourth cable, and then you should be left off with 21 chains. So now we'll go ahead and start on the first row, which we have to work up a few foundation rows before we can actually start on the cables, which will consist of a 4-row repeat. Now let's go ahead and chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. So that is going to count as a double crochet. Now what we are going to do is a crisscross stitch, which consists of skipping 1, working into the second stitch by placing a double crochet, going back to that first stitch that we skipped and placing a double crochet. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we have this chain 3 here. We are going to skip that first stitch. So if you were actually going to count these from the hook, that first loop on your hook does not count as a stitch. So we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to skip that 4th stitch, go into that 5th stitch by placing a double crochet. And now we are going to go back into that stitch that we just skipped and place a double crochet. And that is what we're going to repeat over the next 20 stitches. So you want to make sure that you are not working, and once we go back around to the next cross stitch, you want to make sure that you are not working into this stitch that we have already worked into. So we're going to skip the next stitch, so this stitch right here, and we're going to work into the second chain. So go ahead and place a double crochet, go back into that stitch that we just skipped and place a double crochet. Again, skip the next stitch, making sure you're not counting the stitch that we've already worked into, but skip the next stitch, go ahead and go into that second stitch, place a double crochet, then go back into the stitch that we skipped and place a double crochet. So go ahead and continue repeating that over 20 stitches, and then I will meet you to start our cable. Now that you have worked in those 20 stitches, how I counted mine was by the individually counting the cross stitches. So I just counted these as one individual stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then multiplied that by 2, which gave me 20. So you just want to make sure that you have worked in all 20 stitches. So you'll have 10 of these crisscross stitches plus the chain of 3. So now we are going to, in the next 12 stitches, place a double crochet. So again, we are going to place a double crochet in the next 12 stitches. So I've already done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So just making sure you do have 12 stitches there. And this is going to be for our cable. So now over the next 40 stitches, we are going to do the crisscross stitch again. So we are going to skip that very first stitch, go into the second stitch, place a double crochet, go back into that stitch that we just skipped, and place a double crochet. So again, skip the next stitch, making sure that you're not counting the stitch that we've already worked in, but the next stitch. So skip that stitch, work into that second stitch, place a double crochet, go back into the stitch that we skipped, and place a double crochet. So go ahead and continue repeating that for over the next 40 stitches, and then I will meet you for the next cable. Once you have worked in those 40 stitches, you should now be able to count 20 of these crisscross stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 20. And once you have all of those stitches counted for, in the next 12 stitches, we are going to place a double crochet. So this is going to be for our cable, our setup rows. So again, go ahead and place a double crochet in the next 12 stitches, and then we will work on our crisscross stitch again over the next 40 stitches. So once you have gotten all 12 stitches, again, we are going to do our crisscross stitches over the next 40 stitches. So again, to do a crisscross stitch, we're going to skip that first stitch, go into the second stitch, and place a double crochet. Go back into that skip stitch and place a double crochet, making sure you're not picking up any other stitches like I just did, but go back into that skip stitch and place a double crochet. Skip the next stitch, go into that second stitch, place a double crochet, go back into that skip stitch, and place a double crochet. So go ahead and continue that over the next 40 stitches. Again, you should be able to count 20 of the crisscross stitches, and then I'll meet you for our next cable. Now that you have worked all 40 stitches, again, you should be able to count 20 of these crisscross stitches. We are going to, again, for our cable setup rows, we are going to place a double crochet into the next 12 stitches. So again, place a double crochet into the next 12 stitches. So after you have gotten all 12 stitches, again, we are going to work our crisscross stitches over the next 40, and then you should be left off with one more of the setup rows for the cable, and then 21 stitches for our crisscross, which you should leave off with a double crochet. So go ahead and do that, and then I will meet you once I have gotten this row fully completed. You should have left off with a double crochet. So let's go ahead and do a recap real quick. So you should have 4 sections of these double crochets that stand alone that equal out to be 12 double crochets. These are for our cables. And then you should have 3 sections of the crisscross stitches over 40 stitches, and if you were to count these individually, it would equal out to be 20 of the crisscross stitches. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up until 20. And then on both of our edges, you will have 10 of the crisscross stitches that are over top of 20 stitches. Where we started off, there will also be a chain 3, and on where we ended off at, there will be a double crochet at the end. So here is the 10 crisscross stitches over top of 20 stitches, and that is for our first setup row for our cables. Now to do our second setup row, we are going to start off with a chain of 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Go ahead and turn your work. We're going to skip this double crochet that we made at the end of row 1 because this chain 3 is going to count as a double crochet. So go ahead and skip that stitch. We're going to also skip the next stitch and go into that third stitch and place a double crochet, and then we are going to go back over to the stitch that we skipped and place a double crochet. So we are just working the exact same thing, but actually working into double crochets versus chain stitches. So go ahead and do your double crisscross stitch. So again, skip 1 stitch, go into the next stitch, place a double crochet, go back into the double crochet that we skipped and place a double crochet, and go ahead and continue repeating that until you made it to the 12 double crochets. Now that you have made it to the 12 double crochets, we are going to work a back post in each of the 12 double crochets. So go ahead and yarn over, insert your hook from the back to the front and to the back again to where now the post is on your crochet hook. Go ahead and draw up a loop to now where there is 3 loops on your hook. Pull through 2 and pull through 2. So again, to do a back post double crochet, go ahead and yarn over, insert your hook from back to front to back to where now the post of the stitch is on your hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So go ahead and continue repeating that until you have all 12 back post double crochets. After you have worked all 12 back post double crochets, we are now back at our cross stitches, so we are going to go ahead and work our cross stitches over top of the ones that we made in row 1. So again, we're going to skip the first stitch, go into the second stitch, place a double crochet, go into the stitch that we skipped and place a double crochet. So go ahead and continue repeating that until you made it to the next 12 double crochets, and then you will place back post double crochets into those stitches, and I will meet you once I have made it there. Once you have made it to those 12 double crochets, again, you'll go ahead and place a back post double crochet around those 12 double crochets. So what we're doing for the second row setup is in our crisscross stitches, we will be placing the crisscross stitch. And then once we have made it to the 12 double crochets, you will place back post double crochets in each of those. So go ahead and continue that until you have made it to the end of this row. And then for the third row is where we'll actually start on the 4-row repeat for our cables. So you should have left off with a double crochet in the top of that chain 3. So now we are going to go ahead and chain 3 and turn our work. And now we are going to work our crisscross stitches until we have reached the 12 double crochets, and we will start the first row repeat for our cables. So go ahead and work them crisscross stitches. Again, we want to skip this double crochet that we made in the previous row where the chain 3 does count as a double crochet. So go ahead and work your crisscross stitches by skipping one, double crochet in the second stitch, and then go back to that skip stitch and place a double crochet. So go ahead and work your crisscross stitches like we have done in the last 2 rows all the way till you get to those 12 double crochets. Have made it to your first set of your 12 double crochets, we are going to start working on the first row repeat for our cable. And our first row repeat is what gives the cable its twist, and then after that it's pretty simple. All we'll do is front post and back post double crochets, but don't worry about that right now. I'll show you how to do that in the upcoming rows. So for the first row repeat for our cable, we're going to start off by yarning over twice, which means we are going to do a treble stitch. So I don't know if you've seen that, but we're going to yarn over twice. And then we are going to skip the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. And in that 4th stitch, we are going to make a front post treble crochet. So we've already yarned over twice here. We're going to pick up that post by going from side to side. So now your post should be on your hook. Go ahead and draw up a loop. So now there is 4 loops on your hook. We'll go ahead and pull 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So we're going to do that 2 more times. So yarn over twice, go into the next stitch, and make a front post treble crochet by going from side to side, picking up that post, and pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So one more time, yarn over twice, go into that next stitch, and grab that post by going from side to side, draw up a loop to know where there is now 4 loops on your hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now to make our crossover for this first one, we actually need to work behind these treble crochets. So we're going to go ahead and yarn over twice, and we will be working back into these 3 double crochets that we skipped. So it is very, very important for this first crossover that you are working behind these treble crochets that we just made. So after you have yarned over twice, you want to kind of move your hook to where you're now working on the back side of them trebles. Go ahead and pick up that very first double crochet that we have skipped. So here is actually, here's the crossovers, and here is the first double crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing, working side to side and picking up that post. Now I'm actually going to move my hook to where it's now on the back side of those treble crochets. And you want to make sure you do not grab these trebles either. That is also very, very important. So again, you'll be working on the back side of them trebles. And now you want to draw up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So we're going to do that 2 more times. So yarn over twice, grab that post by working on the back side of them trebles. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that post, kind of manipulate my stitches a little bit, and then I'll draw up a loop to now where there is 4 loops on my hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. One more time, go ahead and yarn over twice. I'm going to go ahead and pick up that very last stitch that we skipped and move my stitches, my treble crochets, into the front of my hook to where now what I am working on is now behind them trebles. Go ahead and draw up a loop to know where there is 4 loops on your hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that is our very first crossover. So those first treble crochets that we made, they will be in the front, and the last set of the trebles that we just made will be in the back. So you might have to separate your stitches to actually see what's going on. So these are the first set of trebles, and these are the second set. So now to do our second crossover, we're going to yarn over twice, skip the next 3 stitches, so 1, 2, and 3, go into that 4th stitch and make a front post treble. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and then we're going to do that 2 more times, which should be the last 2 double crochets. So again, yarn over twice, insert your hook from side to side, picking up that post, draw up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Again, one more time, yarn over twice, insert your hook from side to side, picking up that post, draw up a loop to where there is 4 loops on your hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now to do our second crossover, we are going to be working on in front of these treble crochets, so we will not be having to work in the back. So go ahead and yarn over twice, go into that first double crochet that we skipped of the 3, insert your hook, picking up that post from side to side, draw up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Again, we're going to go ahead and yarn over twice, go into that second stitch, pick up that post, inserting from side to side, draw up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. One more time, yarn over twice, go into that third stitch that we skipped, and insert your hook from side to side, picking up that post, draw up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. So let's take a look of our cable. So now you will have one crossover that is going from left to right, and the one that we just made will be going from right to left. So you'll have kind of a horseshoe shape going on. And actually this is what the cable is called, is the horseshoe cable. Giving its name, it suits well. So there is how we do the first row repeat of the cable. I'll go ahead and show you that again once I have made it to the next set of my 12. So after you have your cable made, we'll just go ahead and continue working our crossover stitches. So I'm going to do that real quick until I have made it to my next 12 stitches. Now that you have made it to the next 12 double crochets, we are going to do the first row repeat again for our cables, and I'm going to work a little bit faster this time, where I have already explained how to do the trebles and the front post as well, but I'm going to try not to work too fast. So we are going to start off with yarning over twice. We're going to skip these first 3 stitches, so 1, 2, and 3. Go into that 4th stitch and place a front post treble crochet. We're going to do that 2 more times, so yarn over twice, go into the next stitch, place a front post treble crochet, and 1 more time. So yarn over twice, go into the next stitch, and place a front post treble crochet. So now we are going to go back to the double crochets that we have skipped, and we will be working behind these treble crochets, and we'll start off with a yarn over times 2, go into the very first double crochet that we skipped here, and you might need to move your stitches around so that you're not grabbing anything else other than that double crochet, and place a front post treble crochet into that stitch. Just making sure you are working behind these trebles and you are not snagging them. Yarn over twice, go into the next double crochet, and place a front post treble crochet into that stitch. And 1 more time. Yarn over twice, go into that last double crochet that we skipped, and place a front post treble crochet. Again, you might have to spread your stitches to making sure you're not snagging or working exactly where you need to work. So that is 1 crossover. So our first treble crochets that we made should be working from left to right, and our second trebles that we just made should be working from right to left. So I'll separate these again real quick. So these first trebles are working from left to right. These back trebles are working from right to left. So now let's go ahead and make our second crossover for our cable. So we will go ahead and skip the next 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Go ahead and yarn over twice, go into that 4th double crochet and make a front post treble. And we're going to do that 2 more times. So these should be the last 2 double crochets of the 12. So go ahead and yarn over twice, place a front post treble crochet, and 1 more time. Yarn over twice, go into that last double crochet and place a front post treble. And then now to make our stitch to actually cross over, we're going to go back to the 3 double crochets that we just skipped, and we are going to be placing a front post treble crochet in all 3 of those, but working in front of these trebles right here. So go ahead and yarn over twice, pick up that very first double crochet that we skipped, making sure you're working in front of those trebles, so you'll be working in front of your work, and go ahead and place a front post treble crochet. We're going to do that 2 more times, so yarn over twice, go into the next stitch, and place a front post treble crochet. And 1 more time, and place a front post treble crochet into that very last double that we skipped. So there is our first row repeat for our cable. So again, 1 crossover is working from left to right, and the second crossover is working from right to left, which gives a horseshoe shape. So once you have gotten both of these crossovers completed, you should have something that kind of starts a horseshoe shape. And now once you have gotten your crossovers for your cable completed, we will start working on our crisscross stitches. So you can go ahead and do that until you have reached the next cable. And if you have already picked up the pattern for the first row repeat, then you'll go ahead and continue working until you have made it to the end of your row. If not, I will do the cable with you 1 more time. So I'm going to go ahead and work my crisscross stitches, and then I will meet you for the next cable. So now that you have made it to the next cable, we're going to do our repeat unit for our cable again. So we're going to start off with a yarn over times 2. Go ahead and skip the next 3 stitches, go into that 4th stitch and place a front post treble crochet, yarn over twice, and we're going to do that 2 more times. So go into the next stitch, place a front post treble crochet, and 1 more time. Go into the next stitch and place a front post treble crochet. And then now we need to make our stitch actually cross. So we will go ahead and start off with a yarn over times 2 and go back to the first 3 stitches that we skipped and go into that very first double crochet that we skipped here, making sure you're working behind the treble crochets that we just made, and place a front post treble crochet. If you need to spread your stitches to see where you're working, please do that. Again, yarn over twice and go into the next double crochet here and place a front post treble crochet. Very, very important that you are working behind those trebles and not snagging them. And 1 more time, go into that last double crochet that we skipped and place a front post treble crochet. So that is 1 crossover, and for the second crossover, go ahead and yarn over twice, skip the next 3 double crochets, so 1, 2, and 3, into that 4th double crochet, place a front post treble, and do that 2 more times. So yarn over twice, go into the second double crochet and place a front post treble, and 1 more time, yarn over twice, go into that last double crochet and place a front post treble. And now to do our stitch that will, or our trebles that will actually cross over on top of these trebles, we'll go ahead and go back to these 3 double crochets that we skipped here, yarn over twice, go into that first double crochet that we skipped and place a front post treble, and 2 more times. So yarn over twice, go into the next double crochet, place a front post treble, and one more time. Yarn over twice, go into that last double crochet and place a front post treble crochet. So again, to make our cable, this is the first row repeat. So again, our first crossover, you'll have a cable that is working from left to right, and our second crossover is going to be working from right to left to give it a horseshoe shape. Now go ahead and work your crisscross stitches here. You should have one more cable to finish up, and then I will meet you for the ending of row number 3, which is also our first row repeat. So you should have left off with a double crochet into that very last stitch, which was that chain of 3. And throughout row 1, I talked about how the cable will give you, once you've worked it up a few rows, will give you a horseshoe shape. And I just want to give you guys a visual of what I mean by that. So here is the cable worked in several rows, and as you'll see, once you have worked all 4 of the 4 row repeats, you'll see the cable actually shine through, which looks like a U or a horseshoe, and that gives it the name. The next 3 rows are very simple. The first row is the row that gives the cable the definition. So we'll go ahead and start on the second row repeat. So if you want to go ahead and start off, you can go ahead and chain 3 and work your crisscross stitches real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I will meet you once I have made it to my cable right here. We're going to go ahead and place a back post double crochet in each of these 12 stitches. Now you do want to separate your stitches out to see exactly what comes first and what comes second, but you'll go with the flow of the cable. You are not going to be crossing your stitches in any way for row number 2, 3, or 4. The only row that we cross our stitches is in row 1 of the repeat. So go ahead and place a back post double crochet in each of the 12 stitches. Again, you want to go with the flow of the cable and not cross your stitches in any way. And if you want to go ahead and work ahead, you can, once you have gotten all 12 back post double crochets, you can work your crisscross stitches and then work your cable, your stitches for your cable, which is the 12 back post double crochets. So I'm going to go ahead, where this row is so self-explanatory, I'm going to go ahead and work ahead and meet you for the end of this row, and then we'll work on row number 3. Again, once you have made it to your cable stitches, you'll just go ahead and place a back post double crochet in each of the 12 stitches. Again, do not cross your stitches in any way, just go with the flow of the cable. And then again, once you have made it to your crisscross stitches, you'll just work your crisscross stitch. You should have left off with a double crochet in that chain 3 space. Go ahead and chain 3, turn your work, go ahead and work your crisscross stitches, and then we will work the 3rd row repeat. So I'm going to go ahead and do my crisscross stitches real quick, and then I'll meet you once I have made it to my cable. Just want to go over row number 1 and row number 2 of our repeating rows. So the first row repeat, we have this crossover stitch here that is consisted of the trebles, and then you'll have the back post double crochets that now, since we're working on or looking at the front side of our work, looks like a front post double crochet. Now when you look at those double crochets, you want to make sure they're not crossing in any way and they are going straight across, not crossing, they're just going with the flow of the cable. So if you were to look at mine, you can see where mine are not crossing, they're going in a straight line, and I can work them very, very easily. So for the third row repeat, which is very, very self-explanatory, we're going to work a front post double crochet in each stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and work my front post double crochets in each of my 12 stitches, and then once I have made it to the end of my stitches for my cable, I can start working on my crisscross stitches. And if you want to work ahead, you can. Row number 3, or the third row repeat, is very self-explanatory, where we just work a front post double crochet in each of the 12 stitches for our cable. So I'm going to go ahead and work all the way up until the end of this row. Again, you'll work your crisscross stitches all the way up until you made it to the next cable, and once you have made it to the next cable, you will place a front post double crochet in each of the 12 stitches. The fourth row repeat is just like the second row repeat. So now we are working on the back side of our work, and how you can tell that it's the back side of our work is you'll have these ridges here, and you won't actually see the definition of the cable. So you will work your crisscross stitches like we have been doing the last several rows, and once you have came to the 12 stitches for our cable, we're going to work just like we worked the second row repeat, and we are going to place a back post double crochet in each of those 12 stitches. So go ahead and work this row, and when you make it to your cables, you will place a back post double crochet in each of those 12 stitches. So I'm going to finish this row up, and then I will meet you back around for the first row repeat and work that with you once more. I'm going to work the first row repeat of the 4 with you again, and then walk you through the other 3 rows. So for the first row repeat for our cable, which is the 12 stitches, we're going to start off by yarning over twice, which is going to be a treble stitch. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, so 1, 2, and 3. We're going to go into that 4th double crochet and place a front post treble crochet. And we're going to do that 2 more times, so yarn over twice, make a front post treble crochet, and once more front post treble crochet. So you should now have 3 front post treble crochets here. And now we're going to go back to the 3 double crochets that we skipped and work on the back side of these trebles. So go ahead and yarn over twice, working on the back side of them trebles. We're going to grab that first post of the double crochets. Again, you want to maneuver your stitches to where these trebles are in the front and we are going to be working in the back. So go ahead and place a front post treble crochet 2 more times, so yarn over twice, pick up that next front post and place a treble crochet, and once more yarn over twice, pick up the next post for our double crochet and place a treble crochet into that stitch. So again, we should have our front treble crochets working from the left to the right. Our back ones that we just made should be working from right to left, and you might have to separate your stitches to see them. So then now for the second part of our cable, we're going to go ahead and yarn over twice, skip 3 stitches, so 1, 2, and 3, go into that 4th stitch, place a front post treble crochet 2 more times, So yarn it over twice, go to the next front post and place a treble crochet, and one more time, yarn over twice, go into the next front post and place a front post treble crochet. And then we are going to go back to the 3 stitches we just skipped. While working in front of these treble crochets, we're going to place front post treble crochets in those 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and making sure they are front post, 2, and 3. So again, that is the first row repeat for our cable. The second row repeat, I'm going to kind of talk you through it. The second row repeat for our cable stitches, you should be on the back side of your work, and you'll place back post double crochets in each of those 12 stitches. Row number 3, you'll turn your work. Once you have made it back to your 12 cable stitches, then you'll place front post double crochet, which you'll see you'll be working on the front side of your work. And for the 4th row repeat, you'll be working on the back side of your work, and you will place back post double crochets into your cable stitches. With all 4 of those rows, you will work your crisscross stitches as normal. So go ahead and continue repeating those 4 row repeats until your desired length. And that will be the end for this tutorial. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email me or even ask down in the comments section. If you did enjoy this tutorial, don't forget to give this video a like, share, comment, or a subscribe, and I will see you for the next tutorial.